Hello. How are you guys doing today? Whew, what a day. If you watched my main video, you know I've had from yesterday, I guess it'll be for you, but I've had a really emotional day. And do you ever just have one of those days you just feel wiped out? I feel wiped out today. And sometimes things just kind of come barreling. It was so weird. I was before I left the house, I was I'm trying to get done with 13 Reasons Why season 2, because it's just a lot for me to watch, but I'm sure it's a lot for anybody to watch. I don't even know if I would recommend it to somebody or if I wouldn't, but now that I'm watching it, I want to finish it, and it got me thinking a lot about high school, and I was thinking I graduated 28 years. I graduated June 1st of 1990, so I graduated 28 years ago this week from high school, and it's such a long time, I'm sure some of you out there watching it aren't even that old. And I was thinking to myself, who I was then and who I am now, and how much I've changed. And it's interesting because I watch a lot of these YouTubers, that the Tana Mojos and stuff that are younger, and I don't think I would have been able to do YouTube then. My drinking and my drug use had so much to do with protecting me against feelings and emotions and hatred from others that I don't know. I just don't know that it's such a different world. We live in such a different world. I don't even know that I can conceptualize it. It's I think back on the personal attacks that I received from people. What an impact they had on me, and then I think about, I was thinking about, all of my friends, watching the show. I was thinking about, I had a really close group of friends when I graduated from high school. It was me and 4 girls, and we were super close, and I thought, I never once, until I fully came out, I don't know other people's stories, but I never once, took a friend aside or said anything to anybody about feeling like I was gay. I was so ashamed of this truth inside of me that I knew, and having had people make fun of me and bully me about it, I think let's see if the deer are out tonight. I think made it even harder for me to admit that the rumors were true when I had known that they were true for a while. It's even when I had a girlfriend, I knew that I was gay. And if you've read my book, Rusty in my book, I say at the beginning of the book, to the real Rusty, I dedicated the book to kids going through what I went through, but then I also dedicated it to the real Rusty, wherever he is. And Rusty was a real person. That was his name. And I have no idea where he is today, because after one semester he moved. But even when I was interested in Rusty, I never told my friend Michelle, I never said I'm gay, I like this guy named Rusty. I said to her, I would wonder, I always use the word wonder. I would say, I wonder about him a lot. And I know she, in retrospect, because we've talked about it, she knew exactly what I meant, but I couldn't even use the words or the language to describe how I was feeling inside. And, was watching the show tonight and I was thinking, like, if you haven't watched it, or you're not going to watch it, or you've watched season 1 but you haven't watched season 2, what you find out in season 2 is basically that Hannah Baker, the main character, she had like all these secrets that she wasn't, like, didn't really come out in season 1. And I thought, you know, like, I was thinking to myself, like, we all have these, you know, like, secrets when we're in high school. And, like, my secret was that I was gay, and I was so, you know, afraid to talk to people. And I was, like, thinking about, you know, like rape is such a constant theme in this season. And I was like, I wonder if any of my friends went through that, you know, like, and I didn't know. And I wonder if they went through any form of sexual assault. I mean, the reality that all of my friends were girls, and not that it's exclusive to girls, because it happens to guys too, but in 1990, I don't think it happened to as many guys. Maybe, I don't know the statistics on that. I know I dated one guy after I came out, and he and I were in a writing class together, and I remember him telling me that he had been raped at a college party by a friend of his, actually. And I can remember thinking at the time when he told me that, like, how is that even possible? Like, by a friend, as a guy, you know. And at that time, I had also been somebody that had, you know, had somebody threaten me in a similar manner. And I can remember thinking, like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't doubt it, I just didn't understand it, you know? But anyway, I was thinking about that tonight. I was like, what secrets did my friends have? Like, what secrets did we all have that we were keeping from each other, that, you know, we could have leaned on each other? And, you know, it's like, I think the reality is, like, parents think that kids don't tell them things, that they only tell their friends. But I don't think that when you're in high school, you tell your friends even a lot of your secrets, and so, of things that have happened to you, you know? And so I think the reality is that most of us are living alone with our secrets. And, like, it's such a lonely, I remember, like, it being such a lonely place. And I think that's why, like, you know, I drank a lot in my bedroom at my dad's house, like, when I was there on the weekends, because they would go to bed early, and I had my own bedroom upstairs with my own private bathroom, and I could just lock the door and drink in there, and, like, nobody would check on me, you know? And, like, I can remember just feeling really safe. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but I can remember, like, I would watch movies, and I would just sit there and drink. Like, I sat on the edge of my bed, like, on the floor with my back up against the bed, and my TV was, like, 2 feet in front of me, and I would sit there and I would just drink. And, like, that was one of my favorite things. Like, I felt so safe doing that, you know? And, I think it just numbed me against all of these emotions and feelings that I had about, I don't know, just about stuff that I was afraid to be honest about or talk about. I wish, you know, I don't have lots of regrets in my life, but I have some. I don't, when people say that they, like, you know, when people say, oh, I live my life without regrets, I don't have any regrets, I think that's bullshit. There are things that I wish I would have done differently, or I wish I hadn't done, or wish I had done, you know. And my mom said at the end of her life, she said, you know, when you're nearing the end of your life, it's not the things you did that you regret, it's the things you didn't do. And I agree with that statement, I really do, you know, like, as a motivational kind of, like, saying. But at the same time, like, I really, like, there's things I regret. Like, I regret not coming out in high school, because I was getting threatened and bullied so regularly anyway that it wouldn't have mattered. And I came out right after I graduated. I mean, I came out on my 18th birthday, and which was a month after I graduated. So, and I was thinking about that too. Like, you know, I don't know. It's just like, I was so young. Like, I think about, you know, I was thinking about my age today, and a friend of mine used to say to me, and she was much older than me when she said this to me, what age, if you didn't know how old you are, what age would you think you were? She used to always ask me this. And you know, honestly, like, if I didn't know how old I was, I honestly would think that I was like 38 or 40, 38 to 42. Like, I think I would feel like I was pretty close to the age that I am. And I don't mind being in my 40s. Like, I enjoy being in my 40s. I just don't enjoy thinking about how many years I have to do things that I can, you know, do them in a healthy way or whatever. And I think that's kind of part of why I got real emotional today. You know, it's like, so I haven't talked a lot about this on here, but I've had like some pretty severe stomach pains recently, and so I checked into it with the doctor, and they ruled out anything. I don't really want to talk about it until I know what it is, to be honest. Because I don't want people speculating and telling me like how to handle a situation, because sometimes, you know, like if I talk about like my favorite candle, like 15 people will say like, oh, you should try this candle, you should try that candle, you should try this candle. And so like, I don't really want to say like but it is nothing, it's nothing serious. They ruled out anything serious. But I got really scared about it because honestly, even though I'm not the healthiest person in the world, it's like I rarely, like I get sick, but I rarely have like anything seriously medically wrong with me. Like the only time I've been hospitalized, like besides being in treatment, once in my life, and it was when I had my seizure that they found out that I had epilepsy, and I was literally in the hospital for like a day. You know, I don't know, I've never really had any like serious medical concerns, and so I think there's part of me that's always like, when's it gonna happen? You know, and my mom was always somebody that would say like, like both of my parents are like really healthy people. Like I don't think my dad has had anything really seriously wrong with him, like ever. And my mom, until she got sick, she never did either. And the disease that my mom had was called Wegener's vasculitis granulatosis. And I think something like 500 people a year get the specific kind that she had. It's like really not a lot of people in the world that get it. And it doesn't have to be a terminal disease if they find out soon enough. It can be treated. But that has to be before it like goes all throughout the body. And by the time that she got sick, it had attacked her kidneys. And so really it disguised as like kidney failure for my mom, which is why she was on dialysis for a long time and she couldn't stay hydrated and things like that. But until she got sick, like, you know, my mom got sick. Now, I didn't know this, but I read it in her journals. Like when we were in Gatlinburg that Christmas, like she journaled like that she couldn't even keep an orange down. Like everything that she was eating, she was vomiting, but I didn't know that. She kept that completely hidden from me, you know? Yet again, secrets. I mean, can you imagine if she had said to me at that time, Peter, I literally can't keep anything down, I'm vomiting. But I think she was so afraid of maybe knowing what was going on that, Jesus, this car is like going a mile an hour. Did you see that? What is going on with these cars? My God, they're going so fast. I mean, I'm literally going like 40, and I'm going 40 in a 40, and 45, and this guy is probably, I bet he is going like 90. Anyway, I don't know, I just don't, you know, like, she never mentioned it. I never knew on the trip that my mom was sick. I mean, you know, I just never knew. And at that point, like, I was in the middle of a very serious diet. I mean, the diet wasn't serious. I was taking the diet seriously. And I was, like, not eating a lot, and I was really watching what I ate, and I was just eating lean cuisines. And I remember my mom was very upset because she didn't have, she wanted a Christmas dinner, and I ended up getting her, like, a frozen Christmas. She was just pissed about the whole thing, and I feel bad about that in retrospect. I should have taken my mother out to have a Christmas dinner, you know? But she never got sick. And so when we came back, and then she got the flu, but then the flu turned into her, like, not really being able to move, like, off the couch. Like, I came and I visited her. I was so busy that January, because that January, I had put in my resignation in December. So that was my last month in working in treatment. And I was so busy between being there and at my practice and, like, finalizing things and, you know, all that stuff that I had to do before I left, that I didn't really have a lot of time to see her. And I remember I went over, like, once or twice, and both times I went, she was sitting on the couch and she had, like, a blanket over her legs. And I'd be like, what is going on, Mom? And she was like, I've been so sick lately, you know? And I'm like, well, you had the flu? Or she's like, well, I had the flu, and now I just don't know what's going on. I just don't feel any better. And I guess that's, like, what really happens with a lot of autoimmune diseases, is that you get something like the flu and then you can't really shake it, if that makes sense. So when this stomach stuff was happening, you know, first of all, Alex was like, you need to go get checked out. You need to go get checked out. You need to go get checked out. And I'm like, I know I need to, but honestly, like, I was kind of just waiting to see if it would pass. I thought, it's just not anything serious. You know, I noticed that if I ate certain things, it hurt a little bit more, which is what they're thinking it is, that it's some kind of possible, like food allergy, or that, you know, like anything even possible to do with lactose intolerance. I also have a history, which I can't imagine that it's that, because I eat a lot of, like, milk-based things, and sometimes it bothers me, but sometimes it doesn't, and I think it has to do with if it's more like, like, if I like, this is where I don't want to get into it, because people are going to start. I love when you guys offer me suggestions, I really do, but I don't want it to confuse my mind, if that makes sense. I also have a history of irritable bowel syndrome. I don't know if I've ever told that story on here. If I haven't, let me know and I will tell it, because it's kind of funny what happened. But that happened to me when I was in graduate school, and it was very, very scary to me. And so a lot of what I went through then kind of happened to me in the last couple days, emotionally, where I didn't know what was going on, and until they were able to find out, I was terrified. And if you know anything about stomach stuff, it's not pretty on how you have to find out, you know, what's going on. So plus, you know, like with my dad as a doctor, like when I was going through something growing up, if I was sick, if he didn't know what it was, he would just call one of his friends, and then I would just go to my, you know, his friend's office the next day or whatever, and, you know, they would figure out what was going on. So it was like, I always knew, which is, you know, one of the blessings of having a father that's a doctor. You know, I mean, when I called my dad, he very quickly got me hooked up with somebody when this was going on. But my dad, you know, on the phone was like, it just doesn't sound that serious to me, Peter. It's probably something that, you know, like, you just don't even realize it's going on, blah, 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 whatever. So anyway, but I think the fear for me is, like, with my mom, you know, like, last year was a hard summer for me, and this is going to sound so corny unless you've gone through something like this. I don't know, maybe it's not corny. Maybe somebody out there will be like, I totally relate to this. But my mom died when she was 64. So last summer, I was like, okay, if I live to be as old as my mom, I have 20 summers left. Like, it really fucked with my head. I was like, that's it. Like, I have 20, and 20 summers sounds like a long time. I mean, as somebody that, you know, is terminally ill, but I don't know. I was just kind of like, I see things, I forever I never saw things like this before. I never saw things like this before until my mom got sick and passed away. And now I see things in terms of how much time I have left. You know, when Pee-Pee got sick, and I said to the vet, like, well, how long do you think he has? And she said, you know, I'd like to see him get to 13 and a half. And he's 12 now. He just turned 12, you know? And so I see, like, in my head, I think, well, we have a year and a half left with Pee-Pee. Or I have 20 summers left because my mom died at 64. If I make it past that, you know, like, when 64 is really young. And my dad is 78 and still working every day, you know? Like, but I see things in terms of that. And I think it scares me. And so I got in this place the last couple days where I just was like in my head and I was real emotional, and like, honest to God, like, YouTube saved my ass, because I knew I couldn't get on video and do like a drama video and just be like, you know, I knew I couldn't allow like my emotion to come into it. So for me to kind of like talk to my friends and be like, oh, what's going on? What's the drama? Blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about it. Like, it was nice to kind of like get my mind off of things. And, but today I just couldn't, you know, like, it was just too much. And, you know, the reality is I just don't have that many days like that anymore. I mean, I just don't. Like, I live a really great life, and like, I just don't have a lot of days where like I just can't handle it, you know? Like, I just don't. Like, and I think that's recovery. I think that's being sober, you know, where it's kind of like, okay, Peter, like, pull it together, you know, call your support people, which I did, you know, and but sometimes my head is a dangerous place. Sometimes my head, like, tells me things that aren't true, you know, like, and I don't know if you relate to that or not, but like, you know, sometimes my head tells me like something is wrong, or, and it could have been, you know, and I'm glad that I went and got things checked out, and I think I thought I had my radio on. I thought I heard something. And I was thinking a lot today about like, well, I might as well just tell this story now, because if I've told it on here before, I don't remember, but you know, I got sober when I was 22, and before that, I was like the first one that came out from when I was in high school. Like, everybody that was gay came out after me. And to some degree, to be honest with you, like, I kind of took the brunt of it, because like the other people that came out after me, I feel like weren't as obvious or as stereotypical. So like, they kind of didn't get really like as bullied as I did, which I'm not saying I wish that they had. I'm just saying, like, I got a lot of shit, you know? And I think sometimes like we talk so much about something that we kind of like forget actually like living in it, if that makes sense. Like I was really afraid to go to school, like really afraid to go to school, and didn't tell my parents, didn't tell my friends. And so like I just don't, like, I look back on that and I don't know like how I lived with that, you know? And so then I came out, and then I got sober, and I remember I was in grad school, and I started having something wrong with my stomach. Like, I couldn't really figure it out. Okay, you guys, this is kind of a funny story in the end, so it's not super emotional, but oh my God, have I been talking for 25 minutes already? But like, my stomach hurt, like, and this was, like, I think what scared me this time was that it wasn't constant. This time, it wasn't constant. It happened typically after meals. And, but it was pain. It wasn't like I felt sick to my stomach. It wasn't that. It was pain. And back in the day when I was in graduate school, it was pain, but it was pretty constant. It wasn't only during meals. Like, it would happen a lot where I would feel this pressure and it hurt. But back then it was above, like, it was more like directly above my abdomen. This time it was different. And so I put it off and I put it off, and I mean, to the point where, like, I was really in a lot of pain. So, well, I already said that it was irritable bowel syndrome, so let me tell you, I didn't realize it at the time, but I wasn't going to the bathroom, okay? I wasn't having any bowel movements, which is, I know, a lot of information, but just in case you know anybody that ever goes through this, it's very common. And it's stress related. And I was what they think it was in retrospect was that I was in school, I was working 60 hours a week, I was in a relationship. I just was real stressed out at the time. Like, I didn't have any time for anything, and it was like, so it was stress related. And so anyway, I couldn't sleep because of it. I felt like something was wrong. Like, I just didn't know what it was, and I allowed it to go on and on and on. Well, at the time that this was going on, I was taking a class in grad school called Working with the HIV Infected Client. And it was actually a really amazing class. And we had this teacher that I had, this professor back then, was fantastic, and he brought in, so, like, it was in the summer class, it was in the summer, so it was like 4 hours, I think it was like 10 to 2 or 8 to noon or something like that, but the first 2 hours would be a lecture and the last 2 hours would be a discussion, and it was like 2 days a week for 6 weeks. Well, he was bringing in these speakers, and he brought in, like, these guys there was like a panel of like 6 guys. The class was real small. It was only like 15 people. He brought in this panel of like 6 guys, and they, I mean, I think back on this now, like, I mean, you know, this was like 96, 97 that I took this class, you know. And these guys, all their partners had passed away. They were all gay. And all of them had Kaposi sarcoma all over their faces and hands that you could visibly see. They had the thing, I can't remember what it's called, but where AIDS, they had full-blown AIDS, and they had where it makes you blind and you can't see. All of them were like walking on canes, and they just, like, there wasn't a lot of hope. Like, you know, their story wasn't really of hope. Their story was like, they were ready to go. Like, they were tired, and they were sick, and they were tired of being sick, and everybody that they had known had passed away, you know, and they just were ready. And so part of why he brought them in for us to talk to, or for us to meet, was to realize that those are very realistic clients that you're going to work with, clients that are ready to go. Like, they don't have any fight in them left, you know. And then I remember we had this woman, and she was in charge of the Life Center at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, which at that time the Life Center was one of the leading HIV research centers in the country. I think it still might be. And I remember her saying, like, all these statistics about, like, HIV and AIDS, and she was talking about, you know, she was like, there is, like, she was like, we'll never have a cure for it. She was like, because the strain constantly changes every time that, you know, somebody is introduced to HIV, it changes. If you have 2 people that are HIV positive that have sex, every time they have sex, it changes because their fluids change. It's just like it was a lot. And then I remember we had these mothers that came, and their children had all died from either blood infusions or you know, they had gay sons that had died, you know, and at that time we weren't seeing, you know, okay, well, it cut me off because I was at 30 minutes. But what I was saying was that we had these mothers that came in and they were talking about like their gay sons. I don't remember any of them having daughters, but who had died of blood transfusions, or their sons had been gay and had contracted HIV through sexual, you know, encounters. And then, you know, the thing is that like today we don't hear about that, and that was like, you know, on the heels of like the Ryan White stuff where people had contracted HIV through blood transfusions. And I don't know if a lot of people know this. Whenever I say this, it's like, or whenever people find this out, they're still like baffled by this, but I can't give blood in the United States as a gay man. If you're gay, if you're a gay male, you cannot give blood in the United States. And so I was, but anyway, and then we had like these women that came in and they spoke, and there was like, I can't remember, like 3 or 4 of them, and they had contracted HIV because their husbands had affairs. And, which, I mean, can you even imagine? I mean, so it was like sitting in an Oprah show, you know, and at the same time, I'm going through these medical things that I'm not really telling anybody about, and I don't know what's going on with me, and I'm terrified. I know something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. And it wasn't like I was sitting in these classes and they were like saying the same symptoms that I had. It was nothing like that. It was just, I was like, something's wrong with me and I don't know what it is. And you know, well, I don't know what the younger generation of gay men think today. I don't. I mean, so I can't speak for them. But I know for me, coming out in, you know, 90, on the heels of the biggest HIV/AIDS crisis that we've ever seen, like my biggest fear was that was going to be my story. And, you know, how I'm sitting here at 45 years old, and that's not my story, is, I don't know. And I have a lot of friends of mine that, you know, are HIV positive, or I've had a few friends that have passed away from AIDS. And one of the things that's like so baffling to me is, and I think I don't even think it's like, I don't see it as a cruel comment. I don't see it as like, I see it as ignorant, is when, since I've been on YouTube, there have been a few times that, people have said like, oh, Peter HIV this, or Peter's, you know, has AIDS and whatever. And it's like, for me, like having lived the life that I've lived, having known in my life so many people that were HIV positive and had AIDS, if that were my story, I would proudly share my story to help other people that were going through that. I don't see it as anything to be ashamed of. And I really think that it's such ignorance on the part of people that say that what they don't realize is when you use that as a derogatory word to somebody, what you're A, saying is that people deserve it, which is really sad, and B, what you're saying is that it's something that somebody should be ashamed of, which I don't feel. And you're also taking away the stories of millions of people that have died or been infected with HIV and AIDS, and it's not something like that I would ever be ashamed to tell. I would openly share that story, you know, out of hoping to maybe pass some hope on to somebody else. And you know, I could share the stories of my friends, but they're not my stories to tell. And you know, so, but anyway, at that point I was going through that and I was scared, and that's what it was. And I remember I went to my teacher, this professor that I had him for like 3 classes, and he was just a really neat guy, and he was very much like a father figure. He was older, and he just was like, you know, just a really neat guy, and very much like, you know, like cardigan sweaters, and he just was Atticus Finch, you know. And I went to him one day after class. I'm almost getting emotional kind of talking about it, because he just was such an endearing guy, you know, such a social worker through the core and core. And I said to him, I said, you know, I'm really having a hard time right now, and like, I'm having these medical issues, and it's really hard for me to hear these speakers. And so he said, I want you to go get taken care of. What's going on? And he said, today, I want you to go to the doctor. And he said, you can't help anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. And he said, that's one of the vital rules of being a social worker, is that we must always take care of ourselves first to help other people, you know, physically and mentally. And he said, and then from now on, he said, when you come to class, if you need to leave, you need to leave. And he made me feel so safe, you know, that like, I don't know, I didn't leave after that. Like, I think I left one class, but like I felt like, you know, and he would check in with me. I would come in, he'd be like, are you doing okay today? And I would be like, I'm doing okay today, yeah. And you know, so anyway, I went to the doctor, and it wasn't really hard for the doctor to fix. I don't remember how they found it out, honestly, but I don't remember the process or if I had to take any tests. I know I didn't have to do like a colonoscopy or anything like that, but the doctor found out that, okay, so this is the funny part of the story. So the doctor found out that I had irritable bowel syndrome, and which is also known as IBS. And so he gave me this medicine. God, did I just tell this story on here not too long ago? I feel like I either told it on here or I told somebody. But he gave me this medicine. I think the medicine was called dicyclamine, if I'm correct. I don't remember. There was these little white pills, and they actually look a lot like PP's Lasix. And he said, okay, and I don't know why a doctor, like, was this old school, or if they would still recommend it or whatever. Now I can't remember what it's called. It was somebody I was just telling this story to, because I couldn't remember what it was called then either. But he said, okay, what I want you to do is, I want you to go home, and I want you to take one pill and 1 tablespoon of, and it's that syrup. Oh my God, you guys, like 50 of you are gonna put it in the comment section, I know. But it's that syrup that makes you have to go to the bathroom. I can't remember what it's called, shoot. It's not like corn syrup. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's like, shoot, I'm not gonna remember what it is. But anyway, so he said, go get this. It's like it's old, like, you know, remedy to like make your stomach, like if you haven't like gone to the bathroom in a couple days, it'll like get your stomach moving. So he was like, but only take 1 tablespoon, don't take any more than that. And he said, make sure you do this on a day that you don't have to work. Like, take the day off from work and do it, because I had not at that point, are you guys ready for this? I had not gone to the bathroom in almost 3 weeks. Okay, it was like 2 to 3 weeks in there somewhere. Like a little bit here and there, but it was like not a lot. And he was like, part of what's going on is that you're really, really impacted. And he was like, and we have to move, if you can't get it out naturally. I know this is so weird, you guys, I'm talking about this, but, and maybe it'll help somebody, I don't know. He was like, we're gonna either like we're gonna have to medically go in there, or you're gonna have to like get it out. And he, God, why can't I think of what that syrup is called? Anyway, I remember it's like a big bottle, and I had like this spoon next to it. It's so corny, but anyway. So I had the next day off from work. My boyfriend at the time and my best friend Krista that I was living with, like, they were gone at work. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be the day that I'm going to do it. And I took the pill, and I took a tablespoon of the syrup. God, why can't I remember what it is called? Of the syrup. And he told me, he goes, I'm just going to prepare you. Like, when it hits, it's going to hit. Like, you're going to want to be near a toilet. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I like took and he goes, you only take 1 pill and 1 tablespoon. This is like that book back in the day, that children's book, you know, like the fish. What was the fish book? The Goldfish. I loved that book when I was a kid, where like he said, just feed it a little bit, and the kid feeds it and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So anyway, so I took the pill, and then I took the syrup, whatever syrup it was. Somebody knows out there. Put it in the comment section. Everybody else will know then. And I sat there, and like half an hour went by and nothing happened. Like nothing. Like my stomach didn't feel any different, nothing. And then like another half an hour went by and like nothing happened. So I went to the kitchen and I took another tablespoon of the syrup. And then like another half an hour went by and nothing happened. And so I took another pill and another tablespoon of the syrup. You guys know what's gonna happen, right? And then like nothing happened, and like another hour went by and I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on? Like this is like, and then I was scared because I was like, I don't want to have to have it surgically removed or whatever they were going to do. I was terrified, you know? I was like, no, this has to work. And so I like went in there and I took I think I took like a half a pill and then like another tablespoon. And I was sitting there and honest to God, like a whole hour went by and I was like, I cannot believe this. And literally, I mean to tell you, I was sitting on the couch and I was like, I honestly, it happened so quick. I thought there's no way you're gonna make it to the toilet in time. And I don't know how I did, but all I know is like like an hour later, I was like on the toilet, and like this is so crude, but like I never would have done this. My mom and I used to laugh so hard about this, but like I was on the phone like bawling my eyes out to my mom. I was like, I just want it to stop, Mom. I just want it to stop. Like I was so upset. Like I was so sad. And I was just like bawling, like tears. I was like, it just literally would not stop. Like I could not stop going to the bathroom. Like I couldn't stop. And it wasn't just that. It was like, it just was bad. Okay. And it just was like, I think back about that day. Oh my God. So anyway, after that, like I had to take this dicyclamine or whatever. I think that's what it was called. I had to take it like regularly, like 1 pill a day or something like that. And it really did help. I took it over like 6 months to a year, I think, and then I like got off of it. And but I remember like there was a lot of things I had to watch. Like I couldn't eat a lot of spicy food and things like that. And I mean to tell you, for a long time after that, like years after, like 5 years after that, if I knew where every nice bathroom was, like anywhere, because like hotels, I would not go to like a gas station bathroom. Like I knew where nice bathrooms were, because if I ate, I was literally going to have to go to the bathroom within probably 20 to 30 minutes after that. I knew that I was going to have to go to the bathroom. And God, that's crazy. I totally like forgotten about all that until I was going through that this week. And then that fear kind of crept in again. And the only thing that was kind of keeping me from like being like full on scared was like knowing that the last time that I went through it, it wasn't like that big of a deal. So I was like, it can't be that serious, you know? I wish that that's what it was, because it would be easily, you know, remedied, but so we'll see what happens, and that's where I'm at now. But of course, I'm also the person that, I don't know if you would get this by talking to me or seeing my videos, but like when I'm talking to like a professional, like doctor, or, you know, attorney or tax guy or whatever, I 50 question them, right? So, of course, and the doctor is also a friend of my dad's. And so, like, I'm talking to him and I'm like, well, could it be this? Could it be that? He's like, Peter, I know what I'm doing. I've done it for a very long time. You know, trust me. It's not it's not anything serious like where your mind is going, okay? And I was like, but how would you know? How are you sure? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, Peter, there's ways that we rule things out based on the symptoms that you're having. Trust me. And I was like, okay. So, you know, I just have to trust the process. And I believe that. I believe, you know, I just did a video the other day on trusting the journey. And I believe that. I believe that you have to trust the journey, you know? And, but it doesn't mean I get there that quick. I mean, sometimes it takes me a little while. And today's just been one of those days. And, you know, it wasn't even that really so much. It just was like, I don't know. I just was, you know, I had that moment where I was just like sitting there and I was like, before I talked to him on the phone, I was like, but what if you get a message back that this is like really serious, you know? And and the really weird thing is that the overwhelming feeling that I had was, you've had an amazing life. If this were it, like, I'm not ready. Like, I mean, I immediately go to that like hospital bed scenario in my head, you know? But I was like, you know, I think for so many years, my initial thought would be fear. And I'm not saying that I don't still have, you know, some fear of death, because I do. I really do. I mean, it's a great unknown. I don't know anything about it. But, you know, I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, like, what would you be thinking if that's what it was about? And I thought, you've had an amazing life. You know, you've done so, like, there's not really anything on your bucket list that you don't want to do. But seriously, you know? Except for that you just want more time to do what you're already doing that you already love. But I went back to this thing that my mom said to me years ago when I was going through, I was thinking about the irritable bowel syndrome today because I was thinking back about this thing that my mom said to me, and she said, I'm so tired of you always having to be the teacher, you know, like, she said, I feel like you always have to teach other people by what you've gone through. You know, you had to do that with coming out. You had to do that with getting sober. And you have to do that with this. And she's like, you know, there's so many things that you always are like, take the high road, be the teacher. You know, she's like, I just want you not to have to go through something so hard, you know? But I think that's life, you know, is that we go through shit. And I just was like, God, please, like, just let this not be. Just like, I don't want this lesson, you know? Like, did you ever say that? Like, I don't want this lesson. Like, not this one, you know? But we don't get to choose our lessons, I guess, you know? I don't know. I don't know even why I'm crying. It's not even anything serious. But, I mean, in the same way, it's like, but how do you, like, do you even, Peter, take a look at the fact that, like, you're sitting there terrified that you might get some really bad news and this could be something serious, and what you go to is like, wow, I've had like a really amazing life, but like, I'm not ready for it to be over, you know? Like, I don't know that I could have gotten on camera, you guys, like, honestly, 3 years ago and on a regular basis said, I have an amazing life. I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. I have an amazing life. I have an amazing life. I don't know that I could have said that 3 years ago, honestly. I don't know that I really had grasped that yet. And so today I was kind of like, well, you finally get it, and that's it? Like, was that the lesson? You know, like, when you finally appreciate the things that you've been given and the things that you have in your life, then that's it? I still want to live my life, you know? I don't want it to be over yet. And then that's the thing that really sucks about you losing a parent. And I have talked to some people that have lost a parent young, you know, it's like, and you know, the thing is that my mom was 64 and I was 36. I mean, there's so many people that comment on my videos on a regular basis and they say, you know, my dad passed away when I was in high school, or my mom passed away when I was 8, or, you know, my mom passed away when I was in college. And, you know, I feel like when I read those comments, I'm like, you know what, Peter, you are so blessed to have the time that you did with your mom. You had so much more time than a lot of people did. And I am so grateful for it, you know? But at the same time, like, it fucks with your head about, like, time. You know what I mean? Like, it fucks with your head about time. And this concept of our time here and what we're doing with our lives and the time that we have, and you know, I was talking to my publisher and she like gave me a date on my books, which I need because I work better within confines of dates and things like that. And I said to her, because she has a meeting for selling them, because she's acting as my agent now, not as my publisher anymore. And she said, and the date is far off. It's in like the 1st of October. And she's like, I want all of our editing done. I want it clean. I want it done. And I said, you guys are going to love this. I said, because she knows I'm I'm not going to self-publish my memoir, like my stories. Like I'm going to traditionally publish it. She thinks I should traditionally publish it. She really believes in that a lot. And she loves the fiction work I'm working on. And I said to her, what if I had 3 pieces to you by October 1st? And she said, okay, 3 pieces, let's do it, you know? And, I have a lot to say. I have a lot I want to do. Tanya and I were talking about it last night, and she's like, what are the things that you would love to do before you passed away? You know, and I said, I don't even know why I'm crying. Like, nothing's wrong, you know? I think maybe I don't know. I think men go through cycles too. I said, and I mean emotional cycles with that, but I said, I'd love to do stand-up comedy just once. I don't even know what I would say, you know? I'd love to sing live on a stage, but I know I'm terrified to do that, you know, and I know I don't have that great of a voice. I'd love to be in a movie or a TV show just one time in my life, or even sit in the audience at Price is Right, you know, or something like that. There's not really a lot of places that I want to go in the world. There's places I really want to go, but there's not like any place that I feel like I have to go before I die. There just isn't, you know? It's like, give me a night with my husband in a hotel room somewhere, watching a movie and getting romantic and going out to dinner somewhere. That's good enough for me, you know? Like, I don't need anything like real deep. And I almost prefer a night at home, you know, just with the dogs and Alex and getting dressed nice and going out to dinner and coming home and watching some scary movie together. I love that, you know, like that is perfection to me. And you know, Alex was telling me tonight, he was like, Ultra tickets go on sale next week. And I was like, oh my God, you know, like another Ultra music festival. So I think like in retrospect, like, you know, I think I just had a day of gratitude, like where I just felt so grateful. I don't know, like maybe I had to go through it, you know, to realize how like truly grateful I am. There's so much construction going on tonight. It's this rough road next 1 mile. Oh, great. That's gonna be great for my vlog. Oh, and the yellow light's on. I think I had to just go through this really emotional thing today to like really be grateful for the life that I have, you know, maybe a little bit more. I think I need moments like that. The responses that I got from my video that I did on my main channel were just like, I don't know, you guys like, you're just awesome, you know, like you just really are. And like, I don't even know that I could ever explain to you really what it feels like to have you guys watch my videos and comment the way that you do. It just, I don't know, it's just, it fills me up. I love it, you know? And I feel so blessed to be able to do this, something that I love to do, you know? So I guess it really hasn't been that bad of a day. I'm glad that I have the ability to feel and to cry, and I know tomorrow when I wake up, I'll feel like I have gone through an emotional roller coaster, like the song from back in the day. But that's okay, you know, like sometimes it refreshes me. Like sometimes I need it, you know? Anyway. All right, you guys, I'm gonna get off here because it's gonna stop in a second anyway because of the light. I love you, and thank you for always watching me. I don't think you really have any idea how much it means to me. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.